I am so excited to speak with you today, Jim. Thank you so much for joining us. Why don't we get started from the very beginning?
I'm excited to be here. Hope I don't disappoint you.
No, you're not. Not at all. Let's start at the beginning. How did you get into real estate?
I'd been in sales for 17 years, and I really enjoyed that. There was some changes going through with the companies. The company got a lot larger, and I have always been a little bit more creative, and so I felt a little bit constrained. And so one evening, I decided we needed to do something different. Came home, told my wife I didn't have a job anymore, and got up the next morning and told, let's go sell real estate. So yeah, that's the story.
Okay. It's an interesting story. So getting into real estate, how long ago was that?
I got my license in 2011, but we started full-time in 2017. So that's when I started really selling real estate, 2017.
Okay, gotcha. And building the business, tell me about that. What was that like for you?
Yeah, for me, one thing that I didn't felt like fit me was calling through my sphere and database. That just didn't feel... I was new to real estate. I wasn't convinced that I could serve them really well just yet.
Sure.
And so I had always, in the business that I had been doing, I was a cold call salesperson. And so I like talking to strangers. It's fun for me. It's kind of a game.
Okay.
And so I went and the next morning I just set a goal. I'm going to knock on 30 doors a day and residential subdivisions that I know and would like to sell in. So for the next year, I kept my numbers, about 4,700 doors.
Wow.
And, we sold 21 houses. In the next 9 months, we sold 21 houses, and then just kind of kept going, and that worked for us. Yeah.
That's incredible. So I think it's awesome that you weren't afraid to knock on the doors. So many people are afraid of that, the stranger, but having the experience you had in sales and cold calling, it makes sense. And so you said in 9 months, you sold 21 homes. What were those 3 months like before it snowballed?
You have the first, you put a house under, so let's say you get somebody a buyer's agreement or a listing agreement, you've still got at least 30 days typically before you have any money coming in. But it started happening pretty fast. So the things that I noticed, I'm knocking on doors. This would have been in 2017. The housing market was really starting to heat up. Everybody's sitting in the house looking at Zillow, and my thing would be I'd talk to them and I'd say, we've got a rental unit or two, and so I would find places where we were doing some activity around. I would just say, we sold a house down the street, or I have somebody moved in down the street, and didn't know if you know of anybody or if you've had any interest in housing. And one thing would lead to another. And you'd find out they've been on the computer looking at Zillow and talking. And so my task was just, instead of let's do that, let's lead them to go and look at a house. And I remember we found one family, and I just remember this distinctly. It was one of our first closings. A family said, "You probably can't help us. We've been through 3 realtors."
Wow.
And so that was a little bit apprehensive. You go, oh,
sure.
And but what was happening was they had a house that they had to sell before they could buy the next one, and they were so afraid that if they sold their house, they'd be homeless, or if they got the next house bought, they couldn't close on it. And so I committed to them that if I had a bank that I worked with a little bit, and I committed to them, if we get a house under contract and we don't get your house sold, I'll buy your house.
Wow. And
they're still in our database to this day, and they still love the house, and such a good financial decision. But, we got their house sold, we got the next one bought, and and then when I would get other people, I would have those people serve as a reference for us.
Okay.
And that's kind of how it snowballed a little bit.
Such a great way to help them and ease that pain. That was huge. So what gave you that idea?
I've always been creative, and I've always been, it's hard for me to do one specific thing.
Okay.
It's real hard for me to sell real estate kind of the traditional way, of working the database, working your contacts, and continue building that. I've been to a lot of masterminds. I've listened to a lot of things, and after several years, I've kind of just gotten the confidence just to say, I just can't do it the way everybody else has. I'm going to have to learn to be okay being Jim.
Right.
And And so that's that's kind of what led us into getting into investing a little bit. I would call on all the for sale by owners, and I would go out and we would put some of the same kind of creative strategies together with for sale by owners to give them confidence that I was not going to cost them money. As your listing agent, I'm here to make you money, and if I don't, I've failed you somehow.
That's awesome. So for sale by owners, door knocking, what were some lessons that you learned throughout the startup, those 9 months?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is sales is it's a monotonous, boring task day to day. That the hardest task whatsoever is to keep yourself disciplined, to keep saying, like I would knock on 30 doors a day. My script's the same thing at every single door. It's a repetitive, monotonous business.
Yep.
But keep doing that. But then once you get engagement, then you follow their logic and you go different places. There's the place for the creativity. But then do the drill. I would never let myself go home until I'd knocked on my 30th door.
Okay.
And I would do that 5 days a week. When the business got going, you have one day typically you can't do it, but I would never let myself get by if I didn't get 120 doors a week. So 30 doors a day, 4 days a week. And if I didn't get it Friday, I worked all Saturdays. Always try to take Sunday off. And then if it was snowing, raining, I still went and knocked on doors.
You did?
Knocked on doors at 8 o'clock at night a lot. And I remember one person, it's 8 o'clock at night. I was in the Northland and it was 6 degrees outside, 12 inches of snow. I didn't have my numbers. And so the lady kind of chastised me when I knocked on her door. And she kind of laughed, said, "What on earth are you doing out selling a house? Don't you know nobody's interested in a house today?" I said, "Well, one thing's really true is there's got no competition out here today. I'm your guy. If you need a house, I've got one for you." And
brilliant.
People enjoyed that. Yeah.
Okay, that's commitment. That is commitment. It's night. It's 6 degrees outside, snow on the ground, and you hadn't hit your 30th door, and you're committed. I cannot imagine that most agents have that level of commitment. How did you get that? How did you get the drive and the motivation to keep going, even faced with monotony and no?
It's a good question. I've never thought about it much. I think you figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are. You figure out where you want to get to, and you figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are. My strengths, I grew up on a farm. And I tell some people I sometimes didn't know. Well, I didn't know we took Saturday off until I went to college. I mean, but, we didn't take Saturdays off where I grew up. And it wasn't 8 to 5. It was when the sun comes up till way after the sun goes down. Gotcha. So I grew up that way. But then another piece for me is I like business. I like sales. I really like real estate. So it's not it's not even so much as a job for me. Like, I really do love it. I was watching James Franklin talk about the other day. He got let go from being the Penn State football coach, and he said, "I don't have any hobbies. I'm a football coach, and that's what I do." And I could really relate to that. I'm the same way. I don't golf. I don't fish. And if I have some time on Saturdays to do something like we remodel some homes, I like to get in the truck and go look at the homes we're remodeling. Okay. I like it.
You are all in.
Well, right, wrong, or indifferent.
Yeah, that's great.
That's who I am.
For a new agent getting started with real estate, what advice would you give them?
Don't try to be me. Don't try to copy the things that I'm saying here on this video. Do a real assessment of yourself. Find out who you really are. Figure out why real estate relates to who you are. And then find the thing that you're really good at. And then do that. But then do it. Set yourself a very disciplined schedule. Don't cheat on it. Do it religiously. And it will really come. I mean, I'm just driving here a while ago, looking at all the houses around, just going, there's so much opportunity in this space.
There is. You're absolutely right. But I love how you touched on don't try to be me, because sometimes we see success in others and try to model exactly what they're doing. And if that doesn't feel authentically you, it's not going to work. So while some people that I've chatted with have built their businesses by building relationships because that's what brings them joy,
very true.
For you, It's so different. It's the drive, it's the commitment, it's doing something creative while sticking to the fundamentals of sales.
Yeah, and I think there's a component that there's people that do. I mean, we've succeeded and it's worked well, but there's people that beat me sometimes. There's people that, like, for instance, I literally got a referral last year from somebody that referred somebody to me. I got beat by somebody in this office that's really, really good at social media. I didn't get to them fast enough.
Okay.
And I remember, and it's a person, I can't do the business that way. And when I first looked at them, I remember shaking my head going, are you sure that will work? And lo and behold, they beat me out of a buyer. And there's just so many ways to do this business. I really feel like one of the mistakes in real estate is people try to narrow it down to there's a few real successful ways to do it, and that's probably true. There's a few, but there's a lot of room to do things a different way. The big piece is whatever you choose to do, be really disciplined at it. As this is a really anytime you start a business, you get anything started, it's hard. It's not easy. You are going to want to quit. The grind is not fun, but the reward on the other side is so enriching and fun.
Absolutely. So business has shifted though since 2017. You work and invest a lot, work with investors and have a portfolio of your own. So walk me through what that looks like.
I've always wanted to be a little bit diversified. It's part of my personality. I have a hard time doing just one thing. And so our business is about a third retail sales. Right there, we should close about 70 houses this year. We've got about a third rentals, and then about a third of what we do is remodel homes and bring back on the market or put in rental inventory. And kind of how I got started doing that was I was calling on the for sale by owners, and I would go knock on the door, and the kind of real proud for sale by owner would say, well, I don't want to use a real estate agent. And I'll never forget, there was an accountant, and literally on his kitchen table, he had a Zillow printout of $227,000, and he was asking $197 for his house, and it was in good condition, and the Zillow was accurate. So I said to him, why are you asking $197 when the house literally is worth $227? It'll bring that, and I will get it. And he went through all these reasons why it wouldn't bring that because this was wrong with it. And I said, no, it will bring that. Trust me, I know what I'm doing here. And so he kind of swore at me and said, I told you I'm not using a realtor. So I just said, well, do you care who buys the house? And he said, no, I don't care. And so I literally wrote him out a check for some earnest money. I bought the house, mowed the yard one time, 30 days later, put it under contract for $247, not the $227 Zillow said. And I really realized at that point that there's some real opportunity in real estate to buy and resell some houses in addition to listing houses for others. And so we still do all three. Okay. But try to just look at the market and see what the opportunity is, see what the people want, and do, what they want.
Gotcha. Well, so after you listed the for sale by owner, did the previous owner ever come back and realize that he had way undersold it?
No, he didn't. Okay. And before I did that, so I always have said to the people, trust me, I come from a business background. If you give me $1 in real estate commissions, I'm going to make you $2 to $3. I will commit to that. In fact, I'll write it in the contract. I'll commit to you a net number, and if I don't hit it, it'll come off my listing side before I ask you to lower the price of the house. If the first 3% is going to come off my side, I'll sell your house for nothing. And so I would literally write that in the contract. And many people took me up on that, and we did that. And out of probably 75 houses that we've listed for sale by owners, I've had 2 houses where one I didn't make anything on, and one I had to take a few $1,000s off. But we lived up to that commitment. But what it does is it gives people. I've had many people say, "You're really willing to put skin in the game, aren't you?" And I said, "I am. I know my numbers. I know how to work the real estate business, and yes, we will produce for you." And they took, people take comfort in that when you put some skin in the game.
Absolutely. Especially when it's their largest asset that they're selling. They want to see the level of commitment. And there's no greater way to show how committed you are than to put your own money into it. So that's brilliant.
Well,
But it also speaks to how well you know the market. Not everyone would feel comfortable doing that. So that's huge.
well, it's either you know the market or you're too ignorant to know better. One of the two. I don't. Sometimes I don't know which it is. So yeah.
Fair. So tell me what the experience has been like at Keller Williams, at our office.
It's a really good question. It's a question I like to answer. So I started out with with another brokerage in town, and it was a low service model to where you only pay a transaction fee, and I liked it, and it worked very well. But as I began to grow, I began to realize I needed a database. I needed to keep up with what we were doing. So I went to that brokerage and I just said, hey, I'm not a technology guy. I'm not software. I don't like it. Just tell me a good database to use to kind of build our business. And they said, Jim, we don't get into that. We really don't even know a database that you use. You've got to go out and research that on your own. And so I was literally talking to a mortgage lender about it. And he said, you need to get the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And this is my ignorance. I didn't even know the book was written. Okay. So I go get a copy of that. And, there's Keller Williams. So I noticed, this is from Keller Williams. So I don't like to be sold too much. So I found the Keller Williams office. I snuck in the back of the office and just walked through the building without going through the front, so I could just look around and kind of see what was going on. And I wanted to see if, I've heard people talk about the Keller Williams Kool-Aid. I wanted to see all this on my own, and I didn't want somebody walking me through and interpreting it for me. So when I snuck in the back of the office, I look around and there's all of these big names in real estate. All the signs I see, they're in this building. Okay. So I researched that. I joined Keller Williams, and then a few years later, you all bought the office that we were in, and it's really easy for me to say what a blessing it's been to come to your all's brokerage. The staff,
our brokerage,
the staff are second to none. There's energy in the office. David Conderman, the operating principal, if I send him an email, I will get a response back quickly. If he doesn't have the answer now, I'll get one in 24 hours. I just got one yesterday, and it's just working being an agent in a brokerage where everybody has their sleeves rolled up, they're hustling, they're working, and they're really, really supportive of you is really special. And I'm not paid to say this. I'm saying it from the heart. It's a real blessing.
Yeah. So you drank the Kool-Aid.
You found your own cup. I did find the cup of Kool-Aid, but I would say it's not Kool-Aid. It's substantive. It's real.
Right. It's absolutely real.
It is.
That's so true. And I think it speaks volumes of the culture that our office has built, that, even though you were with KW and, we bought the Plaza office, to stay and to see the culture, the community, and the commitment that the staff, the leadership, David has to everyone in the office. It really is powerful.
And I do recruit agents for here, and I don't do it for any reason other than I want the agents to experience what we have. And then secondly, everybody says if you want something in return, go invest something. You all have invested so much in helping us that I can't help but really want to just help build something because the investment's been made on our side. It's been a real blessing. Yeah.
Well, we are so lucky to have you a part of our family and the team, and you're just a wealth of knowledge and information, and we can learn so much from you. So thank you for sharing that with me today, and we just appreciate you, Jim. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having us out.
Thanks.